Hi, everybody. I'm Mel Doerr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic, coming to you from my office in a suburb of Chicago. And I am so excited that I have Sabrina, Tree of Life Inner Guidance. We tried this last week, but it was so glitchy, we just didn't, it just wasn't good quality. So we're trying again this week. Um, so uh, we're pre-recording this on Wednesday, but you guys will see it Thursday morning, February 26th, 2026. And Sabrina, how are you, my dear?
I'm good, Mel. I'm good. There's
Good.
just so much going on. Where do you start?
Sabrina, if they would like to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
Well, my YouTube channel is Sabrina Tree of Life Inner Guidance, and my website is just treeoflifeinnerguidance.com. And you can reach me through there. My email is on there and all my info.
Little infomercial. I've got some openings for my Iceland trip. The airfares, I mean, the airline seats from Chicago are selling out because everybody and their brother is going to see the eclipse. So, uh, if you live in other cities, we can probably book it. So, give my office a call at 847-590-5411. Again, 847-590-5411. Gettysburg is sold out on June 18th through the 21st. We're taking wait list, but Kevin and I are talking about doing another one at the end of September. So we have a wait list. If you're interested, again, call my office, 847-590-5411. Thanks to Andrew Nikki Skincare Products for your wonderful products, keeping my skin wonderful during these cold winter months. So having said all that, um,
It's 82 degrees in Phoenix.
well, it's like
Yeah, it's supposed to be 90 this weekend. That's too much.
not like
Way too much too soon.
not like in Chicago. Boy, there was a lot that was going on, and I did a little video today about Cheetolini's State of the uh,
State
Union,
of the madness.
State of the Madness. There were a lot of empty seats because many Democrats boycotted. I did watch the People's State of the Union, but I did some fact checking based on things Trump said. And most of it was just out and out lies. It really was. And, my feeling is that people are going to start fact checking what he says. Newspaper articles, media are going to be all over it, calling him on those lies. And you quoted something today that was it Iran, right?
Yeah, I have CBS News put out an article on Iran's response to the State of the Madness address. Can I call it that? And and Iran nailed it. I mean, they just see what's going on. And what's so interesting is it seems like all the countries around the world are seeing through all this, except for half of the United States. But what Iran had to say here, to quote, professional liars are masters at creating the illusion of truth. This is from a spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry. They go on to say, to quote again, repeat a lie often enough until it becomes the truth. A propaganda maxim coined by Nazi Joseph Goebbels is now being systematically employed by the US administration and its war profiteers. They're accusing Mr. Trump and his allies in the Israeli government of propagating big lies about Iran's nuclear program, as well as its ballistic missiles and the number of people killed during the January protests. So the whole article that CBS put out was basically saying Iran is saying what he is saying about them and their situations and protests are not true, that they're all lies.
Well,
And
I'm surprised that Barry Weiss, who's that Trumpster, who's head of CBS News, I'm surprised that she even let them put that article out.
They might have snuck it out before she saw it. Who knows?
Right.
But
Uh,
yeah, it's super interesting.
well,
And
but I think most of us, more than half of us, know that he's lying. I mean, let's take a look at some of the stuff he lied about. Uh, if you think about it, there were more people watching the Midas Touch network last night for the People's State of the Union than all of the mainstream networks. Uh, and more were watching, Trump's propaganda arm, Fox News. And there was a huge attendance of people on the Capitol Mall because it was really cold in DC, but they had all kinds of Congress people, senators, Joy Reid. I watched it. It was incredible, the
mm,
People's State of the Union. So given the fact that they had over 2 million viewers on the Midas Touch Network and their coverage, and far less were watching on the mainstream networks, that tells me that many of us Americans, at least more than half of us, I would say 60, 70% maybe, are hip to Donald Trump's lies. And we
right,
didn't even want to watch it. We wanted to watch, I refused to watch his State of the Union because I knew I would swear at the TV. But given the fact that many people chose to look at the People's State of the Union uh,
right.
through Midas Touch, that tells us a lot about how strong independent social media is in this country. Uh,
Well,
and
all the big dogs in media seem to be bought out by the present administration and people that are associated with him. So of course they're only going to want to put out there what he wants,
correct.
and there's an interesting clip here from that the this was from Facebook, the New Yorker. Um, Susan B. Glasser wrote this for the New Yorker, and it says there was no resetting of the narrative, no course correction, nor even a meaningful explanation of what the course is. And she goes on to say that he's a salesman, and he's the salesman that comes out and with all these fantastic exclamation points of the new car he wants you to buy. But if you have the junker in the backyard that had to be towed in, he's not the person that you want to talk to get a refund. And she goes on here and it says, based on the polls, it's pretty apparent that the American people want their money back.
Bingo.
So I do think a lot of people are starting to turn around, and there is going to be a lot more protest, and the No King's Day is coming up. Um, but it's unfortunate that the people in Congress that can do something are the ones that seem to be so sucked in and so full of Kool-Aid. And I can't imagine. Can you imagine working in the White House under these circumstances, Mel?
No.
I can't imagine what it's like being there.
But I also foresee that a lot of many Republicans, uh, all Democrats, uh, are really starting to grow a set and call him out on this stuff. I mean, I did some fact checking, um, and when I didn't watch the State of the Union, but I did some fact checking on what he said. It was the longest, way too long speech to Congress, I think, in the history of the country. It was extremely, extremely inflated, misleading, and just out and out lies,
Like him.
right? It was the worst and most inconsequential. It was 1 hour and 41 minutes filled with strong and misleading and untrue things, like I said. Um, he talked about jobs. Oh, it's great. It's this, it's that. But jobs under Trump actually slowed in 2025 when he said we
Big
had
time.
more jobs than we've ever had. Wrong answer. It slowed. And they were far smaller than any other non-pandemic year. US gained only 181,000 jobs in 2025. So he
Yeah,
BS'd
it's
about that. I loved Al Green's sign, and you
Oh,
said the guy
that was
has to leave.
great. That was great. I
Well,
love it. I
Trump
wish
also,
more people would have stood up and made noise and got thrown out just for the record. It would have been
well,
great.
Trump also lied when he said that under his administration, the US had secured 18 trillion in investments pouring in from all over the globe. Here's my BS bell. You can probably hear it ringing. I've got my
Yeah,
miniature BS bell, right?
right. I love it.
I should put a motor on it. Okay. That just completely false. CNN reported last year that Trump was counting pledges, which are really vague amounts promised and they haven't been paid or collected. So he's counting pledges actually rather than actual investments. Um, the White House website lists total US and foreign investments at 9.7 trillion, if that's even an accurate number. Uh,
Remains to be seen.
right? And then Trump lied when he introduced the mother of Irina, I think, Zorotska. That was the Ukrainian woman who was killed on a train in Charlotte, North Carolina last year. He falsely claimed the man who killed her was a hardened criminal set free to kill in America who came through open borders. Wrong, false. DeCarlos Brown Jr. is not an immigrant. He's an American citizen. And even though Trump keeps pushing this false narrative that non-citizens are responsible for violent crime in the US, the data shows completely differently. The data shows relative to undocumented immigrants, US born citizens are more than twice as likely to be arrested for violent crimes and 2.5% more likely to be arrested for drug crimes.
Well, aren't most of these shooters, if not all of them, aren't they all on the MAGA side, like the school shootings and all of this? They're all um, along the lines of white males, citizens that either they in the past or have voted for him. So, but
Veto.
they don't broadcast that. It's just
He also said that energy that, oh, that we've got the cheapest energy and cheapest gas prices and blah, blah, blah. Wrong again.
yeah, I
Um,
can attestify to that.
Energy bills are up by 6.7% from 2024 to 2025. Instead of going down, as Trump said, they're up. We're paying more.
Mhm. We're paying more for everything.
Utility companies, he's allowed them to raise rates on American families by at least 92 billion, increasing bills for 112 million electric customers and 52 million gas customers. Plus, he lied about the price of gasoline. Um,
Sure did. It's not $2.30 in Phoenix.
how much is it in Phoenix?
It's closer to $4.
It's like 389 something here. So
Yeah, I mean in New Mexico it might be around there, but New Mexico is cheaper gas to begin with. But I wish it was $2.30 a gallon. That would be nice.
I don't know what planet Donald's on, but he better go back. He claimed that he ended 8 wars in his first 10 months. Bold-faced lie. U.S. has been involved in six peace agreements, but several of them did not credit Trump at all or specifically. Many were not even considered to be wars.
Well, he's obsessed with the Peace Prize because Obama got it.
He's never going to get it.
No, he isn't. But this is why he's starting this board of peace and why he keeps going on and on about these wars that he stopped. Meanwhile, he's getting ready to start another one, and we'll see what happens there.
Well, Trump was involved supposedly in brokering the so-called ceasefire in Gaza, but yet Israel has continued to kill Palestinians or Palestinian civilians and carry out airstrikes since the truce in October was announced. Um, the Epstein files, they're missing records, just big pieces of them taken out.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
the one about the minor who made claims against Trump. It's like the whole thing.
There were four interviews, I believe, that was done with her, and she was 13 years old. And they only kept one of them and they threw the other three out. And she did accuse him of unsavory activity, shall we say.
Bingo. You
Yeah,
know, I see the Epstein files being released in their entirety through other countries. I feel like Iran has them. I feel like for entertainment purposes only.
of course.
Great Britain has them. I think France has them. And there was somebody arrested today. No, Larry Summers. He quit Harvard over the Epstein probe.
Yeah, because he was in there too. And you know, it's this is a global thing that Epstein was doing. So, you know,
And the globe is not going to forget it. You know,
right,
Pam
right.
Bondi can try to bury as much as she wants, but these other countries are going to release the unredacted files. And
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. And, you know, like the United States can close the blinds on this, but it's going to come out from other countries. And then here we sit with, you know, why in the US are we doing nothing? And we have this alleged unsavory offender running the country.
well,
It's maddening. If you really think about it, it's super maddening.
I foresee people even more like the No King's Day protest, like we were talking about. I see a lot more people protesting in the streets against the No King, against ICE. Um, you know, the public is just going to continue to outcry. Trump's diversions are not going to work. He'll try all these diversions, but it's not going to work. The Epstein files are still going to keep coming and hitting them in the face. And the people will continue to cry out in this country because we want truth. Uh,
Right.
so, by the way, I heard that there was this Casey Means who is going through hearings to be Surgeon General. She's not even a licensed physician. She didn't even finish medical school. And
Well, look who's running the health department now.
oh, you mean worm brain?
Yes, I was going to call him that. I was trying to be nice, Mel, but I was trying to be sweet. Yeah, he's, you know, I know that he has something wrong. And I mean, I'm not any person to talk about my voice because all I do is talk for 40 years, but he literally sounds like he has a mouthful of marbles. And when you listen to him, you just want to say, stop, shut up, just stop talking. Stop it.
Yeah, he's got a head full of marbles.
Well, yeah, that's true. He has a mouthful of marbles and a head full of worms, and you know, and veins full of stuff. But
So what is
oh
that? What is
my.
Donald chart? Blah, 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 blah. I wonder if all this truth coming out could have to do with Saturn or Neptune. What does Donald Trump's chart show? I hope it
Okay,
predicts his downfall somewhere. I see you got the chart in the back, and maybe you
I
can
do.
show us what it means, what each house pertaining to him is going to mean.
I
Um,
would be delighted. So thank you, Mel. And thank you for having me, by the way. I didn't
oh,
say
thank
that at the
you.
beginning. I apologize.
No worry.
So what I am the queen of whiteboards.
Me too.
So I love whiteboards. So what I have done for almost 40 years is teach and do teacher trainings. So that's why I have all these whiteboards. So what I'm going to pull over here for you all to see, and this is blank, but it's blank for a reason here. So what this is a blank astrological wheel. And what it is here is when you have your birth time, your ascendant would be right here on the very beginning. That's the eastern horizon. Okay. So when you were talking with Kevin last night and I was watching, you
You
had
mean Arthur?
mentioned,
I was talking to Arthur.
oh, Arthur, I'm sorry. You're talking to Kevin tomorrow. You were on with Arthur and Sherry last night.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So you had mentioned the Saturn Neptune thing and why is this such a big deal? So in the astrology charts, each sign has from 0 to 29 degrees. So, like we talked about this when we tried to do this last week, Mel, I think you're 1 degree of Aries because you're on the second day when Aries starts. So, the first day when Aries starts, are you March 20th or 21st?
22nd.
22nd. Okay, so Aries starts on March 21st. So that's 0 degrees of Aries. So your astrological chart starts at 0 degrees of Aries. This is considered a world point. So when you have two planets together, two outer planets, which are more generational and collective energy, so you have Saturn and Neptune at the 0 world point of Aries. So why that's a big deal is because we've never lived through this before. The last time Saturn and Neptune were together at 0 Aries was 5,500 years ago. So we have no record of this, but it's a 36-year cycle. It's the beginning of a new cycle. It happened at the same time we have a new cycle in Chinese astrology of the year of the fire horse. That happens every 60 years in Chinese astrology. Then we had that massive solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees. And this is why the degree points are important, because that 28-degree Aquarius point is the same point as the United States moon. So countries also have an astrological chart. So they have a birth time just like a person. And in the chart for the United States, the moon in the United States was 27 degrees of Aquarius. This eclipse was 28 degrees of Aquarius. The moon in a country's chart represents the people. So, like you said, Mel, we're going to have a lot more protests. This is all about the people taking their power back. So we had a whole big conglomeration of stuff in Aquarius, and eclipse energy kind of sneaks up on you. The stuff doesn't happen instantly, but it kind of distributes over days and weeks and even months and years after that eclipse point. So, what we're going to be seeing is the people are going to be more revitalized to take back this country. So, it will likely be the people, the protest, and the unrest from the people that have not drank this ridiculous Kool-Aid, and they're going to be taking back the power. So, speaking of power, let's look at this little chart here of the Donald. So now I'm just going to go through some of these points,
And
and I
explain
think
what they mean.
I certainly will. Now, his ascendant. So I do want to put a little disclaimer in here. So when I talk about these signs and positions and planets, I am talking about them in the context of this individual. I'm not saying that every person that has these configurations is going to be a holy terror, so to speak.
Right.
Okay. So his ascendant is 29 degrees of Leo. Again, this is why degree points are important. Now, if you think about what a Leo is all about, Leo is ruled by the sun. Leo the lion. They want to be seen. They want to be on the throne. They want to be in charge. And in his case, there's also a fixed star called Regulus that's at 29 degrees of Leo, right on his ascendant. Regulus stands for royalty. So he already out of the gate thinks he's royalty. Okay. He has a lot of the downside qualities of Leo because Leos, they're a fire sign, they're masculine, they're loyal, they're big, they're bold, they're great people. But the downside is an egomaniac. Look at me, it's all about me. And he fits that bill perfectly, especially when he's got Regulus right on the ascendant. And he's very vain. That can be a shadow quality of a Leo. Now, I'm just going to go around the chart and point out some interesting things. So this is the 12th house here. So I'm going to go backwards because he's got so much energy in what we call this quadrant. So he's got Mars at 26 degrees of Leo. That Mars is technically conjunct the ascendant, which it's almost the same degree point in the same sign. That's what a conjunction means in astrology. Mars in Leo, I know super well. My mother had Mars in Leo. They want to be worshipped. They want all the attention. They want people fawning over them constantly. Now, when he has got this conjunct his ascendant, he's going to walk in the room bombastic out of the gate. Mars is the planet of action, assertion. Mars was the god of war. It's sexuality. It is in the 12th house of secrets. Just saying. Now we've got Pluto also in the 12th house, also in Leo. Now they're a little far apart to be conjunct. Leo, Pluto and Leo is at 10 degrees. Mars is at 26 degrees. That's a little bit far, but it's close enough. So this can mean a couple of different things. If I was just looking at this chart of a normal person coming to me to have a consultation, one of the things, and I said the disclaimers, one of the things that I would say with Pluto in the 12th house was one of your parents abusive.
Wow. Okay.
I believe so. Now, in the 12th house here with Pluto, Pluto rules power, it rules sex, it rules transformation. With Mars, this could be secret sexual abuse.
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay, now that could be he's doing it or he experienced it, because I'm not diagnosing, but there are a lot of factors when you look at this man's behavior that he could be considered a malignant narcissistic sociopath. Like I said, I'm not a licensed therapist, so I'm not diagnosing. I'm saying it has been suggested. And usually when someone my mother was a narcissist, so that's why I can see all this. Something happens during childhood that they are either severely abused or they're the golden child. So it can go either direction that brings them into narcissism. I know for my mother, she had a horrible upbringing. I know that. And I believe that that's why she became a covert narcissist. So she was kind of quiet about it. This guy's not quiet about it. Okay. So I'm going to skip up to the 10th house and we're going to come back to this 11th house of groups. Okay. So when you go to the top of the chart, right up here, this is called the midheaven. This is your public view, how people see you. So he has the sign of Taurus on the midheaven, which you would think this guy, I mean, he refers to himself as a stable genius. What? But he's saying this
I needed a
because
good laugh today. I'm sorry.
I know. Well, no, we're all going to laugh about this because, there's two things that don't lie. The cards don't lie. Astrology doesn't lie. Okay. So there's factors that can change the outcome. We all have free will. But so why he's claiming this stable genius is because he's got Taurus on the midheaven. Taurus is the most stable sign of the zodiac. It's about banking. It's about stability. It's about being grounded. It's about earth, and it's very fixed. Leo's very fixed also. But so he barges in the room. He's the king. Get out of the way. Bow down, everybody, because the stable genius has arrived. And no, but I'll tell you why he's not. And this is so clear in astrology. It's kind of fun. Now, this is where his sun is. So this is his symbol for the sun in the 10th house. 10th house is career, public view. So he is already in the public eye. That's what he does. That's what he's done all his life. He loves it. All this Leo energy is loving this. So then next to it, we have what's called the north node, the lunar nodes of the moon. There's a south node, which is down here. It's not on this chart because the north node is what we're striving towards. So he has the north node up here conjunct his sun, and these are both in Gemini. Gemini's an air sign, allegedly logical, ruled by Mercury, communication, travel, commerce, tariffs. So, and then he has Uranus here. Now, do you know who Kramer is from Seinfeld? Okay. So every time I see the planet Uranus, I think of Kramer because Kramer barges in the room, throws the door open, his clothes are on sideways, his hair is a mess. He looks like he stuck his finger in a light socket, but everybody loves him. He's brilliant, he's charming, he's charismatic. So this conglomeration in his 10th house gives him that charismatic, think outside the box energy, kind of weird, but I'm in charge. I'm the king. I've got all these ideas. It's going to be fantastic. This is your snake oil salesman here. Now, when I read to you what Iran said, I almost laughed out loud because my dear friend who is gone, who started to teach me astrology 40 years ago. Now, this is nothing against Geminis. As I said, we're talking in the context of this Gemini. She called Geminis professional liars. And Iran called this guy with all this Gemini energy a professional liar. They're spot on. He is the snake oil salesman. He comes in well dressed, the charisma of the Leo, the charisma of Uranus and the sun. And this is what he's supposed to work towards, is that north node in Gemini, talkative, the sales guy. It's all right there. Okay. Now, super interesting, this next section here. When I first looked at his chart, I was a little dumbfounded when I first saw this until I thought about it for like 3 seconds. So this is the 11th house of groups, organizations, teamwork. It's about humanity, and that the good for all the people. So when we look at some of his antics, we wonder, how can this man be so cruel and terrible to the people? So we've got Mercury in Cancer, which Cancer is a wonderful sign. It's a water sign. It's sensitive. It's loving. It's protective. And you're thinking, what the hell went wrong? So he should be communicating his Mercury in this loving manner. Forget about it. So now we move on to Saturn in Cancer at 23 degrees. Saturn is restriction. Saturn is boundaries. Saturn is karma. Saturn is father time. Saturn is a full stop. It's responsibility. Reap what you sow. He has Saturn conjunct Venus. Venus is women. Venus is beauty. Venus is values. So this is all together in Cancer, which you think, my goodness, he should love women. But Saturn conjunct Venus can put restriction on love, restriction on feelings about women. It can be ice cold and nasty. So we've got this, and this is in the humanity department. Okay. So this is why he can just toss out stuff and be super cold about it. And we all just stand back with our jaws dropping. So he comes in the room, charismatic, well dressed. Look at me. That's also why he has the tan. Leo's rules the sun, suntan. Okay. He comes in, his stable genius. He's charismatic. He can talk. He can chatter. He can bullshit. He can do all of that like a champ. And he can run a pep rally like nobody's business. And that's what he does. I call him pep rallies when he gets everybody together. He's good at that. But then, if he doesn't like you, he's nasty. And that's also a hallmark of a malignant narcissist. Not diagnosing, for entertainment purposes only, but that's where that ugliness can come from, that he has a problem with women. So another thing, we're going to shoot down to this, what we call in astrology, an opposition. So he has the sun and Uranus up here opposing his moon in the fourth house. The fourth house is the house of home, domestic values, family. Okay. He has a sun and moon opposition. Often when you see that in someone's birth chart, either the mother and father weren't together at birth, or they were divorced, or they should have been divorced. So somebody was super cold here. This could say his mother was cold, erratic, or there was some sort of force going on there with the mother. And I believe, didn't his mother said something derogatory about him this was a while ago. Do you remember that, Mel?
I do, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was either, but this opposition means that they're going to be like this. And I would probably say he would be winning because he's got this package up here, the gift of gab, which is Gemini. I mean, Sag is the other one that's got the gift of gab, and they're no wallflower. Let me tell you, fire sign. I'm a Sag. Don't mess with me. But there's more energy up here. So I would say that he probably did not get along famously with his mother. Okay. So over here in the second house, okay, the second house ruled by Taurus, stability. This is your earning potential, your values, what you like. This has Neptune and Jupiter here in Libra. So he likes very pretty things. We know that, young, pretty
Gold
things.
toilets.
Yeah, gold toilets. Well, the Leo is where that tacky gold comes from. Leo likes everything bombastic. But there's also, he has all sorts of illusions around what he values, because Jupiter is going to magnify everything for better or worse. And Jupiter here with Neptune's confusion, illusion, delusion, rosy colored glasses. It can also be gambling, addiction, casinos. So it can be all of that. And look what he's done with his life there, and this Jupiter magnifying Neptune. So this kind of describes the guy exactly what he is in the worst possible way, but it's also working for him. The thing with this Jupiter here is he has favorable aspects to his sun and Uranus up here. So for a while, people will like him. But he also has Jupiter square Saturn and Venus, which is going to magnify that nastiness about women. Yeah. So Jupiter magnifies for better or for worse. So he's got some real favorable Jupiter aspects here, which almost protect him in this conglomeration of his. But you know what, I'm gonna wait and see what happens here. This is going to be super interesting because in April, now what we said before when we tried to do this, I said just wait till April. Let's see what's going to happen in April. Now why I said that is because we have a configuration in the sky that's going to involve seven, and you should pay attention to Aries, that's going to involve seven planets in Aries. And
Whoa.
so where these planets are going to land in his chart are in the eighth house of other people's money, of sex, death, and taxes. So I believe the sun is there, moon is there, Venus is there, Mars is there. We've got Neptune there. We've got Saturn there. And we've got Mercury. It's on my Mercury retrograde chart here. So this is all going to land in his eighth house. Now, I don't predict, I say potential. There could be potential because Aries, as you know, Mel, you're an Aries. Aries is fire, it's masculine, it's the maverick, it's get out of the way, let's get the job done, we're moving ahead, do not delay, boom, boom, boom.
It's like
In
the
the
snow
eighth,
plow. It's like the snow plow in a blizzard. Move, we're coming through.
yeah, and I'm from New England and the Boston area. Originally, we would have three snow plows lined up. So this is like seven snow plows lined up in the eighth house. Now, when I saw this, I'm going to, like I said, I'm not predicting. I'm saying the first thing that came to my mind was money laundering,
Wow. What does the eighth house stand for?
sex, death, taxes, transformation, other people's money.
Wow. Wow.
Now,
So that would be in the eighth house on his chart, right?
yes, that's the eighth house on his chart, which, you know, I can pull up and talk a little bit about the chart of the United States. But what's going to happen in the United States is by and large, you know, he's running the place. So that was just it came to me like, you know how you get a hit, and I was just like, oh my god. And this could be sudden, very sudden, spontaneous action. And plus, all of this is going to be squaring his Saturn and his Venus. So that means karma
So
because
what would those seven planets in Aries in the eighth house in April represent for Donald Trump? What would that would it be truth coming out about the graft, the corruption, what would it mean?
the eighth house is involves other people's money, and you
Ooh.
have damn near every planetary energy under the sun there. Oh, and Jupiter is over here conjunct his Saturn and Venus. So that's going to magnify all of this. So you have the sun, a person's ego and essence. You have the moon, feelings. You have Mercury, communication. You have Venus, money, women. Mars, sex drive, aggression. And Saturn, karma, responsibility, boundaries. Neptune, dissolving the boundaries, spirituality, drugs, alcohol, confusion, illusion. You have everything there. And then that is all going to be magnified by Jupiter, and Jupiter sitting on top of his Venus Saturn conjunction, which restricts love and is not crazy about women. So this is why I wanted to show you this. You got to see it live because it I can't wait. I'm excited to see what happens. Aren't you?
Yeah. So in other words, there's something big coming in April.
Yes, and if something big does happen and this country doesn't see it or do something about it, it's either going to be a breakthrough, or if nothing happens, it's going to be a breakdown.
I,
Because
I
I
see it
think
as a breakthrough. And I
let's go
think people are going to
positive.
start demanding that things be done when whatever it is happens.
Yeah, well, the demands are now starting. They're
Well, you ain't
already
seen
well.
nothing
You
yet.
Yeah, oh no, and it's magnifying. It's this whole year for the first quarter, or yeah, the first quarter, I guess you could say, first 4 months is going to be this energizing stuff. I mean, we're living through times that none of us have been through, and it's all the energy is saying the breakdown of the old to bring in the new. But with that, they're all talking about Pluto being power to the people, or rejuvenating the power to the people. So, how Pluto operates is Pluto is transformation, and you don't have a choice with Pluto. You either comply or fry. And Pluto burns, and it's true, Pluto burns everything to the ground so it can rise as the phoenix. So, Pluto is the scorpion, Pluto is the eagle, Pluto is the phoenix. But in order for that transformation, you have to break it all down to rise it all up.
I
And
think
we saw that.
I
Go
think
ahead.
Trump would rather fry than comply.
Well, we agree. We're in. Count us in for that frying. Get the frying pan out, man.
Crisco.
So yeah, well, he's covered in Crisco. Just throw him in there. But so, it's we're living in amazing times. I mean, it's exciting, and it's also disheartening at the same time. It's that oppositional energy of highs and lows. But I think one of the things that I would just like to say to everyone is, don't let all of this steal your joy, because it is maddening right now. We're all going through times that none of us have ever been through. There's going to be a lot of breakdowns. There's going to be a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of breakups. Um,
I felt
and
energized last night when I was watching the People's State of the Union because I felt like finally there's some Democrats, finally there's people that are growing a set and really speaking up. And what I saw last night, my psychic light bulb went on and saying, this is going to be a preview of what's coming with the People's State of the Union. People speaking up more and more and more. People saying we've had it, and demanding that the members of the House and the Senate do their jobs to do something to clip Trump's wings. It gave me a lot of hope because I saw the light at the end of the tunnel last night when I watched uh, the People's State of the Union.
right, right, right. Well, I remember, and I've always wanted the opportunity to tell you this, and here we are. I can't believe it. Um, I remember a couple of years ago, watching you, and you were probably on with Kevin, because I can watch when you were on with Kevin. It's the when I'm not working. So I remember you guys talking about the whole immunity thing, and so, oh, they won't possibly give him that. And then when they gave it to him, I remember watching all the shows, and I remember thinking that that was the very first thing to go in this downward trajectory. And as I listened, and I think that it has taken the last 2 to 3 years for the Democrats mainly, but a lot of other people, to finally take a look and say, this is really happening and this is crazy. And there's no decorum left. There's, there's no constitution that's being followed, and we need to do something about it. But I think that it has just been, I keep thinking about Ozzy Osbourne and Crazy Train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. And it has just taken this long for
Mm.
people to finally say, we got to do something different because nobody's doing anything here. And this madman is on the loose. But it's so what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost unbelievable that it's happening. But now people are finally saying this is really happening. They're not following the Constitution. They're not even following the Supreme Court. Even those that we know whose team the Supreme Court, half of them are on. But this is why I think it's taken this long, because people are finally realizing that, yeah, this is really happening. Okay, we're losing control of democracy, and we got to fix that. We got to fix that right away. And it's just taken this long.
I think
And
I think he's crossed the line so many times, but when he thumbed his nose at the Supreme Court,
oh
when they
yeah,
said he couldn't do this with tariffs, and he says, I'm going to do it anyway. So he openly stated he's defying them. But I see his new tariffs, whatever he's doing, going to the court, and they're going to strike that down. These justices are thinking, what is he doing? Well, at least most of them, with the exception of Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, and Alito. But
right.
somebody wrote here, Jeffrey Powell wrote, the face of humiliation is a dangerous place to be when the truth is these justices have the power to force him out of office. Just one more ruling against him, and the files that hang in the balance will be devastating to Trump. The ISIS then that Trump is skating on, with the weight of the Epstein files heating up, is a bad combination. He falls through with no life preserver, and his get out of jail free card compensated. I like the way that's written.
Yeah,
Does it all?
yeah.
But does his chart show his downfall? Or does it show anything about that?
Well, what we're looking at here is this is April 15th. But when we set a date in astrology saying this is the day of, often there's a buildup. Okay.
Right.
So what is happening with him here? I'm going to move this stuff. So we just had that new moon solar eclipse, and that was right there on his descendant. So, and it was squaring Uranus, which is right there just over into his 10th house. So we've got this axis, as we call it in astrology, activated. The way he comes in the room, his persona, against his descendant, which is it moved into his house of open enemies, but it was also in his 6th house of health. Okay. And this is all squared by Uranus. So we're going to see a bunch of wild cards start to show up for him. And with this kind of energy, now I'm not a person, I'm not going to predict death. That is kind of a Jupiter thing. And I really, honestly, I don't study astrological death charts. So I'm going to defer that to Google. But this is activating the people in the United States, the power of the people that revitalizing their power, which is what's happening. And Uranus sitting on top of his midheaven, the people are finally starting to say, this guy's a raging lunatic. And he's going to have a Uranus return. Now, what a return means in astrology, because you hear all this return stuff, Pluto return, blah, blah, blah. So what a return is so in his astrological chart, He has Uranus at 17 degrees of Gemini. Uranus in the sky right now is at about 28 degrees of Taurus. It's close approaching, moving into the sign of Gemini. So that means the planet Uranus has went around the sun the whole way around until it is going to sit down on his Uranus. So that's what a return is called. So let me just say that, I'm sorry to say this, Nancy Guthrie just had a Uranus return. So it could be something not so good. So,
It
but
could
he
mean his
has that
demise, in
coming.
other words. It could mean his demise, in other words.
It could potentially, or he could just go off his rocker with the
Or
Uranus
his
and
political
Uranus.
or his political demise.
It could be a sudden upset, a sudden of any sort of upset. But the other interesting thing with the Uranus return, Mel, aren't you a little bit of a historian?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last time the United States had a Uranus return was 1941.
Ooh. In World War
And
II, Pearl Harbor.
okay, hang on a minute. So 1941, more whiteboards. 1858,
Ooh, Civil War.
1776,
Revolution, signing of the Declaration of Independence.
1689,
I don't know where that one.
1605.
Wow. Wow.
So it is coming up and it's gonna, let me see here. It's gonna hit the United States return. I think it's at the end of April. Where's my ephemeris? Boo-hoo. One moment, please. Where in the hell did I put it? I think it's the end of April when Uranus goes into Gemini. And the United States, Uranus is 8 degrees, and it's coming soon.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it could be the demise of Trump. It could be, I hope it's not the demise of our democracy. I don't see that. But um,
It could be some sort of disrest, unrest, major unrest.
um,
I wish I will text you the exact date for that. I have
I
piles of
think Trump
materials
wants a
here.
civil war because that gives him power. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about his constituents. He doesn't care about anything except, his lust for power.
Yeah, right there. Venus conjunct Saturn. And not everybody that has Venus conjunct Saturn is going to be nasty, but he is so drunk on power, and that's what a narcissist wants. Not that I'm diagnosing, but if you read, and I actually pulled up the 10 a list of the 10 things that are all about a malignant narcissist, and he has them all. I mean, he's cookie cutter. And that's why it's so easy to just say all that. But I mean, sadism and cruelty, very not first on the list. They take pleasure in causing pain, humiliation, or distress to others, often acting in a cold or scary manner.
It's also the
I mean,
components of a psychopath.
yes, pathological liar, grandiosity and entitlement, rage and aggression, extreme manipulation and exploitation, paranoia and suspicion. So, this, I'm just going to read, if you don't mind, this little clip here. Malignant narcissists often display a defect in the superego, acting as their own law with a disregard for social norms. Unlike other types of narcissists, they actively seek to destroy those who threaten their control, making them particularly dangerous in work, family, or social environments.
Superego would mean the things that shape us, like societal laws, norms,
Yeah,
mores, all of that. That's according to Freud that shapes our super ego. Ego means
right.
self, but I'm just interested in that. What planet did you say that was like 1941? Was that Neptune or
Uranus. Do you want me? I can. Do you want me? I can text you that
Oh,
stuff, or do you want to write
well,
it down
because
now?
I'm wondering, a lot of people are fearful of civil war. I think Trump wouldn't even mind that, to be honest with you. But
Oh, he would love that because then there'd be no midterms. His
exactly.
mission, his mission is to get rid of the midterms, to somehow not have them happen. And they said last night there was something about uh, Moses Johnson saying that something about the midterms, that if we lose the midterms, his presidency is over. And we're like, yeah, oh yeah, it is. But I believe his mission is to make sure the midterms don't happen. And I also believe his mission is to stay in power until he's dead.
Here's what his mother supposedly said. Yes, he's an idiot with zero common sense and no social skills, but he is my son. I just hope he never gets into politics. He'd be disaster. That's what she supposedly said.
Yeah, thank you for looking that up. I knew that she did not uh, look at him favorably. So I don't know if she was the cause of narcissism or if it was his father, but it sounds like she didn't think highly
Well,
of
is
him.
this
And,
chart this
it's
chart is his
there.
this chart is his natal chart, not his progress chart, right?
Correct. I didn't look at that. I figured one thing at a time
Maybe next
because,
time, maybe next time
yeah,
maybe next time we can look at his progress chart and see what that shows.
yeah, that would be fun. Well, fun for somebody. Us, it would be fun. So,
This has been
but
wonderful. Thank you so much. I've got to run, but thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, now everybody's wondering, what is this big thing, April the 15th? Many of us feel something big coming. Uh,
yeah, and the energy is building. It's working towards some sort of a crescendo. Um, I hope that doesn't happen in Iran, but with this article, the response from the Iranian government, that's going to really annoy Mr. T. And I don't even like saying his name. I can't help it.
You know, I
Um,
see I see missile strikes, him doing missile strikes in Iran. I hope I'm wrong. But
well,
he's clearly
yeah,
trying to wag the dog. He's going to try anything to divert away from the Epstein
Epstein.
files. But I want to tell you something. I've got my intuition tells me, and Linda Grindle said this as well, that Iran has something on Trump, and they're like, hey, you do this, we're going to release everything we've got about you, the Epstein files, all of that. So he's not going into Iran because he cares about the Iranian people. It's a diversion, just like with Venezuela. I'm running Venezuela. Well, I see a coup d'etat in Venezuela. We know that those boats weren't drug boats. There was an
Those were fishermen. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for all these people that he's harming.
Well, the
And
reason the one was killed was because they knew that if he lived, he would tell the truth, and they didn't want
yeah,
that out. Um, like him talking about Greenland, but NATO beat him in his own game on that one. So, all this saber rattling about making Canada a 51st state and, Greenland a 51st
it's
state, it's just all diversion. It's
it's all
all
this nonsense up here.
right.
But you know what, Mel? The good thing, and I try to find the silver lining in things. Sag, ever the optimist. One of the good things that has come from this is Europe is now starting to band together. They are now starting to say, hey, we can no longer count on the United States. We have to do it ourselves. We have to be our own people. And I think that that's a good thing. And I think it's going to take quite a while for our allies to trust us again because they're looking at you put this person in before then you had a decent guy in there that did a really good job. I love Joe Biden. I absolutely adore him. Bless his heart. I hope he's okay. And then you put the lunatic in again. So, the whole world is, what is wrong with you?
Many of us in the community, I've said this and predicted it a long time, that because Trump is in office now and what he's doing, not supporting Ukraine and all of his other shenanigans, it's going to make the European Union that much stronger. And it's causing, you're right, those countries in Europe to band together because they don't want Putin invading them. They've
Right.
had it with Trump. And, he keeps threatening tariff, tariff, tariff. And now they're saying, bring it on because we're siding with other countries. So your tariff
Yeah,
is
they're
not going to
doing
matter
trade.
anymore. Right. So
Yeah,
they're
trade
stand,
arrangements.
they're standing up to the bully. Uh,
Yep.
he's trying to weaken NATO. That's what Putin wants, but that's not going to work either because
Yeah, they're
uh,
they're banding together.
they're going to band together. So essentially, his shenanigans have made the European Union and NATO much stronger. And what I see coming in Central and Latin America is a lot of those nations banding together to come up with almost a Latin American Union, very similar to the European Union. So there's powers in numbers so they can stand up against Donald Trump. So,
Right, right.
um,
So, those things are all there. It's an unfortunate way that this is happening to make it good for them. I mean, it's unfortunate that we had to come to this, and they're doing trade deals with other countries, and they're just cutting the U.S. off, which is what Pootie Pants wants.
well, it's
You know?
he wanted to weaken the US, and Donald Trump is
Yeah,
doing that. But, it's going to take us a long time to undo the damage that Trump has done. But I see once Trump is gone and the Maybelline Queen, Shady Vance, is gone, um,
the
I, I
sofa.
see I see a president coming into office, and the first thing that he or she will do is issue an executive order overturning all of Trump's executive orders. People are worried about 2025, but I don't see that going through all the way. I don't see the SAFE Act passing. I don't think it's going to pass the Senate and even if it did, the Supreme Court, it would get to them and they say they'd overturn it because you can't limit people's right to vote. So
Right. Well, and that's what it's all about. That's what he's trying to do.
Well, the fact that he
Once
gave the middle
again.
finger to the Supreme Court over his tariffs, but that's going to bite him big time as well. I think many of these justices are hopping mad and they realize with that presidential immunity thing, they've opened Pandora's box. And my guides are telling me that behind the scenes, a lot of those justices are talking about how do we put the tiger back in the cage? And I see them in the future overturning their whole thing on presidential immunity and saying, no, if they're creating if they're engaging in high crimes and misdemeanors and not following what the court says, then they are not immune from prosecution. And that they can, I see at some point the rule changing that they can be prosecuted while in office, impeachment. So
Right, right.
um,
That would be great.
Well, JD Vance, I think, is going to be impeached. I don't know if Trump will be around long enough for an impeachment, but I do see impeachment. And he's nervous about that because he knows if the Dems win the midterm, his rear end is grass, and the House and the Senate will be the law.
Yep.
So
Right, right. Well, there'll be order in the court. That's
here
for
we go.
sure. And there's
All
there's
right.
disorder in the court right now.
All right. So once again, how did they get a hold of you, Sabrina?
My YouTube channel is Sabrina Tree of Life Inner Guidance, and my website is Tree of Life Inner Guidance. And I did just put a video up on Mercury retrograde, which at the time of this video being uploaded, Mercury will be retrograde. So hopefully it's going to upload okay.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Or we're just going to have to do it live, and that will have to be
Um,
how how it
I'd like
goes.
I'd like to do another one where we can do a progress chart for Trump and for United States and see how those two, see what they hold. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, that would be good. So we will.
Okay,
But
my dear. This has been wonderful. Everybody go to Sabrina's channel, Tree of Life Inner Guidance. Thumbs up, subscribe. Uh,
please,
if you'd like to get a reading from her, again, treeoflifeinnerguidance.com. Me, you can email me, mel@meldoerr.com, or call my office 847-590-5411. Sabrina, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much, Mel. I had a blast.
Me too. Thank you.